Formula One drivers and teams are in an uproar over the FIA's latest rule changes, which are set to shake up the remainder of the 2024 season. The new regulations targeting everything from braking systems to penalties have sparked outrage across the grid. With some teams feeling unfairly targeted and others scrambling to adapt, tensions are running high. Will these changes level the playing field or push certain teams to the brink? The FIA has rolled out new sporting and technical regulations for the remainder of the 2024 season, promising an even more intriguing second half. These changes range from updates to the braking system and tyre testing procedures to adjustments in penalty applications and rules concerning drivers stopping on track during qualifying. Teams will need to carefully review these changes to ensure they stay competitive as the season progresses. One of the most significant updates is related to the braking system. The new regulation, known as the 11.1 change, prohibits any system or mechanism that can intentionally create asymmetric braking on a given axle. This rule aims to prevent teams from exploiting the braking system in ways that give them an unfair advantage. The focus here is on maintaining fairness, especially after previous systems like Mercedes' brake magic were seen as pushing the limits of the rules. As Formula One continues to evolve, these mid-season updates reflect the sport's commitment to fairness and innovation. However, the real question is how much these changes will impact the team's performances. Will they adapt quickly, or will some struggle to comply with the new regulations? So, the mid-season update to the braking regulations suggests that a team has found a unique way to enhance their braking performance. Specifically, this involves optimizing brake controls not just front to back, but also across individual wheels: left front, left rear, and right rear. Such precise control can significantly improve cornering performance, giving the team an edge. Implementing a regulation like this in the middle of the season is unusual and points to two possibilities. First, the FIA might have discovered, through observation or reports from other teams, that a particular team was exploiting a grey area in the rules. This would be similar to the controversy surrounding the DAS dual-axis steering system in the past, which led to a regulation change. Alternatively, the FIA could have overlooked this aspect in the original regulations and is now trying to close the loophole. It's important to note that teams have been known to tweak the rear side of the car, especially using the diffuser to aid in balance and cornering. However, vector braking, manipulating individual wheel braking, can be a powerful tool for teams, if not regulated. With this update, we can expect significant adjustments from most teams as they work to comply with the new rules while maintaining competitive performance on the grid. If the rumors are true, the recent changes might just be the beginning of significant updates coming to Formula One cars in the second half of the season. One of the most notable additions to the regulations is the introduction of mule car testing, or TMC 1010. This new provision allows teams to use a car at any track during running time, provided the car complies with the regulations of any of the 4 calendar years preceding the current championship year. The catch? The car can be modified for the specific purpose of testing future products. Strategic testing, preparing for 2026. This new regulation means teams can now build and test cars based on the chassis from the current season or the previous 4 seasons, including the pre-ground effect era. The primary focus of these tests will be the upcoming 2026 regulations, allowing teams to gather crucial data and refine their strategies to close the gap with Red Bull. While 2024 remains the immediate concern, the insights gained from mule car testing will be invaluable as teams prepare for the significant regulatory changes coming in 2026. Interestingly, these mule tests will involve minimal modifications to the cars, making them particularly fascinating to watch. Teams like Ferrari, McLaren, and Mercedes, who are still working on their 2024 upgrades, will be keen to maximize this testing opportunity. For teams like Ferrari, McLaren, and Mercedes, getting closer to Red Bull by the start of 2025 would be a massive achievement. Red Bull's Christian Horner and Adrian Newey have stated that they believe they've reached the performance ceiling with the RB20, meaning there's little room left for further improvements. This creates a golden opportunity for other teams to catch up. The FIA has introduced a more straightforward rule regarding time penalties. Previously, drivers like Esteban Ocon and Kevin Magnussen could serve multiple penalties during a race without much impact. However, under the new rule, 5 or 10-second penalties can be carried over to the next race if a driver retires or is unclassified in the current race. This also applies in addition to penalties like pit lane drive-throughs or stop-and-go penalties. To be considered classified, a driver must complete more than 90% of the race distance. This change aims to prevent teams from trying to manipulate penalties, as seen when Lando Norris served a 5-second penalty before retiring his car in Austria. Another significant change concerns what happens when a car stops on track during a qualifying session. This update was likely prompted by Carlos Sainz's situation in China. According to the new Article 39.6, any driver whose car stops on track during qualifying or sprint qualifying and receives physical assistance will not be allowed to continue in that session. While it may seem like common sense, this rule now explicitly prevents any form of mechanical assistance. For example, when Sergio Perez asked his race engineer to push his car from the gravel in Silverstone, he was informed that this would count as mechanical assistance and result in automatic disqualification. To simplify, if a car stops on the track during qualifying and the driver managed to restart it without any help, the qualifying process can continue without issues. Previously, the rules stated that if a car stopped anywhere other than the pit lane during a session, the driver couldn't continue qualifying. This regulation led to protests, particularly from Aston Martin, who were significantly affected during Saturday sessions. The recent change is seen as a positive step forward. However, there are still potential complications. If a car stops on track, it could cause a double yellow or red flag, forcing other drivers to abandon their fast laps. If the stopped car manages to get going again, the flags might have been unnecessary, disrupting the session for no reason. Formula One could take a cue from other championships, like IndyCar, where a driver causing a red flag during qualifying loses their 2 fastest laps, and a yellow flag results in losing 1 fast lap. This system allows other drivers to continue without penalties, which might be something F1 could consider. These rule changes, particularly those affecting qualifying and braking systems, are shaping the 2024 season in interesting ways. Many of these adjustments are in response to incidents in the first 14 races, prompting the FIA to revise the rulebook more than usual. Whether these changes will lead to better racing or expose teams' tactics, like Red Bull's recent protests against McLaren and Mercedes' flexible front wings, remains to be seen. The ongoing monitoring and adjustments, such as the sensor checks at Spa, indicate that the regulations will continue to evolve. To ensure a smooth transition with the new rule changes, Red Bull Racing remains confident, despite facing intense competition. While these changes are seen as a positive step, there are always critics, and it's yet to be seen how other teams will react. Those most affected by these changes are likely to protest the loudest. Red Bull, however, insists that their car won't undergo significant changes, though they'll continue with upgrades. Max Verstappen has acknowledged that the scenario was expected, but is surprised that other teams have managed to catch up so quickly to Red Bull. Verstappen elaborated on the team's outlook for 2024, stating that while they are always searching for more performance, sometimes they have to be realistic. He mentioned that there may not be much more performance to be found, and the key challenge is maintaining their current level, even though it's incredibly difficult. "We are not robots," Verstappen remarked, acknowledging the difficulty in not comparing themselves to last year's performance. However, he emphasized that this is part of the journey in Formula One, where operating at such a high level is something they might only fully appreciate in hindsight, perhaps 20 years down the line. Despite the potential of not having the quickest car this year, Verstappen asserted that the team's mentality remains unchanged. They are always striving to get back to the top level, even if the car's pace isn't as dominant as before. This relentless drive to push boundaries and continuously improve is what has kept Red Bull at the forefront of Formula One. As the 2024 season progresses, it will be intriguing to see how these rule changes impact the grid and whether Red Bull's approach will keep them ahead of their competitors. So, what do you think of the shocking statement from Red Bull? Comment below and subscribe for more.